accept it as a park, if Bobby's
We
saying
don't
something
really
else,
have.
you know.
Well, I don't think we enforce it.
And they're not gonna go to cut the grass.
Where exactly,
They'll
is it
talk around, we
southeast,
get
south
back
of
to
the,
it.
where's the,
I'll say we can do it.
But if you wanna know where that is.
Yeah.
I think I've got it covered up.
No, I'm just trying to. I don't know, that I wanna make sure that I got the right spot too. On the wall. Jim, I think it's, I think it's right in, I think it's one of these lots over here. But I'm not positive.
What am I authorizing?
Just send Geek your ducks away and they'll look at.
And I'm not positive, but I think it's,
Okay.
I think there's been another one built here, because it's not this, it's not that wide.
South side of the street?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's this one or this, because I think something's been built.
That's here, so it would be
Yeah.
here,
Yeah,
that would be,
it's the road that is
right,
open.
yeah. But, yeah, well, that's the dead end that goes down like
Yeah.
tellers.
Yeah.
It's either this one.
Because I think something's been built on here, if you look at that. It's not as wide as this, it's definitely not, it's definitely not as wide as this one.
This is going to go down to the end of the thing.
Yeah, it's not that.
That's marked that, this is back, this would be going to the residential. So it's just a little bit to the east, southeast of it.
Yeah. Okay?
Oh, that's the one spot.
Yeah, they've got it, they feel they can't use it for anything, or they said they'd be willing to give it to the city. Is that the extra one that I?
Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
Remind me, because I gotta have Amy make you a copy, that's the only copy I got, but.
Wait here, lot 10 in it? Which lot? Oh, the
This
center.
is 10.
Okay, so when-
Basically,
okay.
and I think, I think
To
that-
the
yeah,
other part.
this is the whole area, that's
Right.
the whole area.
Just a reminder with your masks on, council, and Jim, really talk loud.
Okay.
We're muffled. Thank you. Okay. Talk and breathe.
Call the city council meeting to order.
Alderman,
Here.
Cullinan,
Here.
Kern,
Here.
Yeski. Here. Guevara.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approve the minutes from the June 15, 2020 regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular June 15th, 2020 meeting.
Second.
Alderman,
Aye.
Cullinan, Kern,
Aye.
Yeski.
Aye.
Guevara.
Aye. Next on the agenda is public comments on agenda items only. Do you want me to? Yes, why don't, being that there's no comments on agenda items, why don't we try to address the water rates?
Okay.
So before the weekend, I posted something up, and kind of had an explanation, because there were some people that were upset, about the new water rates. So the mayor asked me to talk a little bit about it, so I'm gonna kind of read it off here, so bear with me. I don't really have anything new to add on the topic of water, electric rates. However, there have been some very recent discussions and posts on the internet that could probably use some clarifications. Man, I can't breathe in this thing. Again, everything here I'm about to say has been discussed at a previous meeting over the course of the last year. I know most of the residents' schedules don't allow them to follow along the events of every meeting we have, so I'll try to summarize some of the things of how the water rate increase came into effect 1 June 2020. Shortly after our council took its seats, we began to look at the long-term maintenance and upkeep of all our infrastructure items. We noticed several deficiencies in our water and sewer systems. Some of these deficiencies are routine, long-term. Everyone's aware of them. These things happen. Periodic work needed to be done. This is nothing new to any municipality. However, when we started looking at the costs and funding of these items, we quickly noticed that there isn't anything saved, banked, or any kinds of means to replace this infrastructure via the water rate fund. It was being supplemented by other things such as the electric. So as a council, we decided it would be best to ensure that this is the case and get a professional opinion to know for certain. So we authorized a rate study by an engineering company that had some experience in this, representing many nearby municipalities. This rate study took into account many factors: rates, history of rates, rates of surrounding municipalities, inflation, long-term maintenance, current status of existing infrastructure, operational costs, basically everything you could think of. This study took multiple months, and upon its conclusion, a presentation was made upon the council meeting. The study's results were a confirmation of what our finances were indicating. The rates the city were charging were drastically too low, and were not able to maintain our infrastructure, much less find a means to finance the replacement of a 60-year-old plus wastewater treatment plant that is well past its economically useful life. The next phase was to develop the most reasonable way to modify our water rate structure. The engineering firm then took the data from the study and looked for what they thought was the best way to come up with that. They presented the proposal to me and another commissioner first, then it was presented at a council meeting for discussion. Weighing the options for this proposal, no one really liked it. Everyone recognized something needed to be done, but this option felt perhaps too drastic, and there had to be a better option. So we kicked it back to the firm to come up with multiple other options for us to accept. This process went on for a few months of back and forth, trying to find the best proposal, with at least 6 different rate options that I recall. After looking at all of them and not really finding the perfect option, we determined that perhaps the best option that had the least impact to our residents in the long term was actually the first proposal recommendation. Now mind you, when I say that it was the best option, which was contested, it did pass 3-2. So by majority vote, it was the best option. But again, the proof is in the vote that it still wasn't the preferred plan by all. This got approved in February of this year after starting many months earlier, and had an initial new rate start of March 1st, 2020. However, with the global pandemic starting up the same month, we all decided unanimously as a council that this wasn't the best time to activate a new rate system. So we delayed it, then again, then again. The last delay of this rate increase start time got moved to June of this year, after when businesses were starting back up again and stimulus checks were out. Flash forward to today. Well, people got their bills in the mail with the new increase. Since only a smaller portion of the citizens try to stay informed regularly of what happens at city council meetings, and I was in the same boat, when one's working 60+ hours a week, you really aren't too concerned with following ordinance modifications. I get it. But there are a ton of people that are new to what is even going on with the entire litany of stuff I just summarized in the previous paragraph. So, they see their bill and immediately have questions. It really doesn't help that the start date of the new water rates coincided with the increased usage of electric because of AC units in the summer, especially with the summer hotter than normal. It also doesn't help that our billing software doesn't easily break down these charges on the bills our residents receive. I do plan to speak to this a bit at tonight's meeting. It's an agenda item. Every year when the heat goes up, residents usually call into City Hall because they're upset or confused about their bill. The call volume is even more this year because it's coupled with the water rate increase and the warmer temperatures. I also see numerous people posting things on Facebook. Everyone has a right to voice their concerns, which in itself is fantastic. It keeps people in the know. However, I see a lot of misinformation going around. I see many things like, in quotes, "Why did the city do this increase? It's crazy. My bill is X dollars more than last month," end quote. When in fact, if you look at the X dollars they're claiming as increase, about 80% of it is because of the electric use increase, which I feel I need to clarify. The city did not increase any electrical rates. Only the water rates increased, which are significantly lower portion of the bill people are painting a picture of. Also, stated at earlier meetings, the water rate in Oglesby as compared to other municipalities were so much lower, in some cases, it was about a third of other locations. Our rates are now much closer to what other nearby cities are charging, which they have been charging for a bit now. Our capital improvements for our water sewer infrastructure has been behind the curve for quite a while. I will get into something tonight, an agenda item, that the city does have a lack of explanation on the billing, power factor and power demand. Those costs are not anything the city is making money off of, but those charges result in the increased cost of electricity simply because people, other than just Oglesby, are using more of it in the heat in the summer. Our billing software doesn't have a means to display that currently. I will discuss two things on this topic. One, a means to make that happen and a cost associated with it. Two, even if we can make it happen, is that what people want? I'm told a decade ago it used to be that way on the bills and people no longer wanted it, so they got rid of it. I'm the type of person that does want the most information at the very least available to me, but I can recognize that as my opinion. We need to find out what residents really want when it comes to information on their bill. I personally believe the lack of detailed information causes people to assume things, then spread information that is perhaps a little misleading, which then gets spread further as disappointment. Essentially, I can understand why people have concerns and want to voice them. I just want to make sure they are correct in what they're concerned about. My hope is that this long summary of events explains a little better to those that might not have followed each meeting and are too busy in their lives to have followed along this ongoing issue the past year. Sorry for this long, drawn-out summary, which some probably don't think of much of as a summary at all. Again, if anyone has more detailed questions they'd like answered, I'd recommend asking about billing here because it's an agenda item, or if it's general about the water rate ordinance, please ask at the open comments section.
Thank you, Jason. I just got one other comment about your electric rates. Your electric rates today in the city of Oglesby is in the bottom third of the state. And part of it, it was time we had to make a decision, and the electric rates could no longer support the water rates. I'll go on to the next one. Approved bills as presented for payment.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills as presented for payment.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Approved quarterly building permits report. The total amount for the quarterly building permit was $167,400.
I'll make a motion to approve the quarterly building permits report.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Approve ordinance 1117-070620, authorizing the city of Oglesby to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Central Illinois Police Training Center.
We talked about this at the last committee meeting. Our local training board that was in Princeton has now closed, and so we are going to be going to Peoria instead. If there are no questions, I'm going to make a motion to approve ordinance 1117-070620, authorizing the city of Oglesby to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Central Illinois Police Training Center.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. Approve ordinance 1118-070620, adopting a policy prohibiting sexual harassment for the city of Oglesby.
I just have a question. Did everybody complete the training?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1118-070620, adopting a policy prohibiting sexual harassment for the city of Oglesby.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye. place on file ordinance, place on file 1120-072020, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an,
Down number 10.
Number 10.
oh, I got crossed it off, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Place on file 1119-072020. I'm having a hard time reading. An appropriation ordinance for the city of Oglesby for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2020 and ending April 30th, 2021.
The appropriations ordinance was prepared by our auditor, Joel Hopkins. We did tweak it a little bit to make sure, one of the things we put in was we know we're applying for the grant for Columbia Avenue. So we increased, I think it was the water capital improvements line item to cover what would be the city's share of that grant if we receive it. Now, obviously, we're not gonna spend it if we don't receive the grant. We will have a meeting at 6:45 PM on July 20th, which is the evening when we'll be adopting the appropriations ordinance. The appropriations ordinance is not a budget. All the appropriations ordinance does is it sets out the maximum amounts that the city of Oglesby can spend in any line item within, like, the water fund, the fire department fund, the police fund, the city clerk's office, the electrical department. When Joel prepares this ordinance, what he does is he prepares it after he completes his audit. So if Joel sees that we've got a line item of $25,000 for supplies for the electrical department, and in the previous fiscal year, we spent $22,000, he very likely will bump that up to $30,000. Because you're not supposed to spend more money, you're not allowed to spend more money than you've appropriated. Now, you can move monies around between line items in a fund. But basically, when I emphasize it's not a budget because we're not saying to the department heads, you're gonna probably have X amount of dollars this year, how do you wanna spend them? All Joel is doing when he does the appropriations ordinance is he's looking to see those line items that we are approaching the maximum amount appropriated. He's just gonna bump those up, and make them higher. So I think we went through this. Joel does this every year, and we'll go into it a little bit more detail at the hearing, on the 20th. We do, one other thing, we have to pass the appropriations ordinance in the first quarter of the fiscal year, which for the city of Oglesby ends July 31st. And the certified copy of the ordinance has to be recorded in the LaSalle County Recorder Deeds Office, or we won't be getting any tax levy. So it's an important ordinance.
Okay, I'll make a motion to place on file 1119072020, an appropriation ordinance for the city of Oglesby for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2020 and ending April 30th, 2021.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Place on file 1120-072020, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an easement agreement between the city of Oglesby and Ameren, Illinois Company, Ameren, Illinois. Basically what that is they want to move their gas main, what is it, 100 feet into,
To the south
to the south. of
Another
where-
6 feet, another 6 feet in,
6 feet?
another 6, they already
The
have.
easement is longer than,
Yeah,
the
they-
movement is not allowed.
Yeah, down, they already have an easement, they just need it a little bit further away from the road, even further, about another 6 feet. But it is like 100 feet long, yeah.
And they released the city of all liability should there be a cave-in or whatever.
Yeah, so this location of where it's at is over the old city dump. Now we do have cave-ins that happen occasionally and stuff on that property there. The good news is, in the last 8 years, the closest one that ever happened was about 100 feet away from the road. So it is a pretty good distance, but after talking with the lawyer, we thought it would make sense to make sure we get that wording in there as well to hold us not liable in case anything were to happen.
Yeah, we contacted Ameren and let Ameren know that, you know, this is getting closer to the area of the old dump where there had been occasional cave-ins. So I asked that they include language that Ameren would indemnify the city of Oglesby in the event there was any damage done to the property of the city of Oglesby by virtue of a failure of the gas line due to a cave-in, and also indemnify the city of Oglesby in the event that the city of Oglesby was sued by a third party because of damage done to the gas line by virtue of the of any lines of sight. And it's my understanding from speaking with the Ameren representatives that they've done their due diligence. They've done, I assume, their soil borings and their testing, and that they're confident with where they're putting this. And I have to think that's correct, because I don't think I was expecting maybe a little bit more blowback on the language that I drafted when they got it, and I didn't receive any, so they must feel very comfortable that.
Well, yeah, when I talked to them and told them that the closest that one's ever happened that we know of is more than 100 feet away from the road, it's probably not even a concern, but it's a good thing for legally to have in mind. So, if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to place on file 1120-072020, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an easement agreement between the city of Oglesby and Ameren, Illinois Company, Ameren, Illinois.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. The next one is place on file ordinance 1121-072020, an ordinance amending Chapter 28 of the Water Service Regulations of Title 13, Public Utilities of the Oglesby City Code.
So what this is here, about a month and a half ago, I got notified there's a company that wanted to come get water from us. And they're not a company that's run out of Oglesby. They don't have an account with us. So we didn't really have anything in our ordinance of what to do. So I kind of had to come up with something on the fly. I know there's been some questions to City Hall because they've seen the tanker filling up. They are not filling up the tanker for free. That's not a concern. So what this essentially does is this allows, so we have different rates for water, right? We have commercial, rural, and residential. And the most expensive version we have is the rural rate. So what this does is, if there is a business that wants to come in to fill up via tanker, they can do that, but they will essentially pay at the highest water rate we have in the city, which is still not a bad deal. But they'll pay at what they call the rural rate 1, is what this is. So anytime somebody's coming in, filling up 80,000 gallons, it's like $720 the city makes on it. So, any questions on that? All right, I'd like to make a motion to place on file 1120-072020, an ordinance amending Chapter 28, Water Service Regulations of Title 13, Public Utilities of the Oglesby City Code.
I'll second that.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the agenda is discuss and approve cost repairs to the old fire department building. I went over there because a couple of and took a look at it. Been hearing about how the roof leaked, we've had a number of people take a look at it. Apparently what we have is the roof leaks, the bricks on the front of the building masonry. And they're gonna have, come to right around $28,000. We've got a good building over there, and if we take out, and we will, I've talked to the people that used to play bocce ball there, and nobody's playing bocce ball.
You gotta turn that
Turn on.
They knocked it off.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I just see that's a building and it's a big investment, that we shouldn't just let go to hell. So,
And so did these three people bid on the whole project, or is there individual area of
they're
expertise?
individual areas.
And I didn't see that in my packet, so
Oh,
that was the same reason we couldn't vote for the expansion of the Parks and Rec building, because we didn't have any numbers. So that's why I don't know why we're gonna vote on this with no numbers, but we had to wait for that, so. I think we should wait until I see the numbers at least, before I vote on it.
I'll entertain a motion to table it. Sorry, I thought I had gotten the numbers out to everybody.
Okay.
That's my error.
I'll make a motion to table until I can see what the numbers look like. Or anyone can.
I'll second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye. Next on the agenda is discuss addition to the Parks and Recreation building with a contract to be awarded without competitive bidding.
Alright, so, we got the bids back. Anyone have questions, Cully, have concerns, anything?
Bob said he dropped them off, we're looking for some, proposals and that, he said he had talked to a couple other people, and, seemed like he wanted to go with, a local contractor, thought it was probably the better deal. And, said he wasn't sure, there's other problems that they're looking at, and I think at the last meeting we discussed this, about the cost of the building, and I think everybody else, was, there might have been some concerns about it. But, approving it without, because he said that it was under the local bid or something for the city.
So it'll add a whole nother lane, right, for 24,000?
Yeah, it's a lane in the back area too, where it'd be covered. So when I look at the bids and what needs to get done, I do think the value is there of what you get out of it to cover the equipment. And my only question is, there is value in it, but then there's also a convenience factor of it compared to the other buildings. So I guess my question is, do you think that we can afford this? Again, I think the value is there, but do you think we can afford this?
I just think we're running out of storage is what the key, the reasoning from what I saw, and all this stuff is just sitting outside, and that's my issue with, especially the mowers, if they're outside in the rain, snow, and all that, it's not good for the motors and that kind of stuff. We run them all summer long, literally, the whole time, so.
I concur. I do think getting them inside somewhere is value enough in the long run to reduce the depreciation of the equipment. The only question that kind of came up is, I didn't know there was that much damage to the old firehouse building, the previous agenda we talked about. I knew that there was a leak in the area that was all the outdoor equipment, but I didn't know that there was masonry problems and other stuff like that. So, that building is important for us because that's where we hose our bucket, some of our bucket trucks, the city sweeper, stuff like that. So my only question is, if you think that we have the funding to be able to facilitate for both of these things, then I'm 100% on board.
What's the other project's price?
Well, we gotta get the, if we.
I don't know what that number is, Jason, right, tell you.
Well, I mean, he read it for us. I mean,
If we're looking at, let's just take a look. If we repair the old fire station and we remove the the Bocce Ball court. That bay is 60 feet long. It's big enough to house every mower that we got and every piece of equipment that the Parks Department had. I guess my thing about it is, let's repair a piece of property that we have, make it usable for years to come, and keep our building. I can't, can I say this? We got a piece of property, we have to maintain it, and I don't see where I've got the money for both projects. And if you say I'm wrong,
Again, I don't know what's the fire station gonna cost us? Can I get that
about
number?
the same thing about 28,000.
So for 45,000, we'll have an addition and we'll fix the other one. And I don't know what our storage situation is, but all we're trying to park is the mowers, I guess that'll be fine.
So,
I just feel like there's more equipment that you can.
There is more
stick
equipment.
in that fire station,
you mean what's in the fire station now?
and more in that one bay.
So
that we're gonna open up.
the other thing that's a bit of a concern probably for the Parks Department, and if Cully wants to touch on that, the bay, their fire station, they're meant for very long pieces of equipment. So the only there is a convenience factor for the Parks Department if they use that bay, obviously, because they gotta pull a lot of stuff in, out to be able to routinely get the stuff. So there is some negative conveniences with it. But as the mayor was saying, there is a significant value in that building to make, again, I only thought the only leak was on the area that stored outdoor stuff. I didn't know that there's masonry problems, and that building is critical to store our street sweeper, the chipper, one of the bucket trucks, and then, I don't even know what Rich has other equipment that he stores there too. So there is value in making sure that building does not fall apart. So again, what Bobby's proposing here, I think there's value in that. My only question is there enough for both? And if you tell me, as the finance guy, that there's enough for both, I got no problem with it then.
I think this is infrastructure for the city and the park district, and I just feel like as soon as we fix the fire station, they're gonna run out of space, and we're gonna be back here 2-3 months from now, right before winter, saying, hey, where are we gonna park our stuff at? And that's what I'm more worried about than anything. Again, it's keeping the equipment intact, running well, not getting rained on, not upkeep, that kind of stuff.
The space that they got is big enough to house everything that the park district would want to store.
Okay.
It's big enough, we can go up and take a look at it sometime. The Bocce Ball court, is gonna come out. The people haven't played, for about 1.5 years, 2 years. I've talked to them, they say, go ahead, we're too old.
That roof's been bad for 20 years and now they're worried about it? I used to play with those people, Mr. and Mrs. West, and the baker that used to be at Lou's, and the people, and we got rained on all the time, and.
Well, I don't know about that, Drew, but,
Did you play there? How would you know that? I mean, we could look up and we could see through the roof.
well, then it looks to me like it needs to be repaired. Go on.
Years ago.
Well, it wasn't, now
What number is it?
at some point in time, we're gonna have to make that decision, in 2020.
So what do we wanna do with this item? Do we wanna motion on it? Do we wanna delay it? What do we wanna do?
It was just for discussion.
Oh, it was just discussion.
Nobody ever used
Okay, well, that's my only question, is if we think that we can afford, both upgrades, because I do think the fire department building is critical.
I would hope that we would get one taken care of and then come back and look at it.
Okay.
Okay.
15, approve waiving the liquor license fees for the fiscal year 2020 for establishment clubs that were forced to close due to COVID-19. And basically, that would be the bars, restaurants, clubs, the Elks, Casey's, American Legion, that were forced to close. It's our way of trying to help them get through this year. It's gonna be a tough year. What it amounts to is, if I'm correct, and Tommy will correct me if I'm wrong, about $5,500.
That is correct.
And this waiving of the liquor fees, this is nothing that affects anything that's state or county or something, we have 100% control over it? Okay.
Yeah.
These are your local fees.
Local fees.
And we're not in favor of prorating, which I think was my suggestion when we brought it up last time.
Well, I was just trying to get these guys, I wanna keep their doors open and don't wanna see one of them closed.
And do we know any of them are struggling?
Pardon?
Do we know that any one of them are struggling and at the point of closure?
They're all struggling.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them that are.
Any other questions on this, Tim? If that's the case, don't let it be said we're not trying to do everything we can.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve waiving liquor license fees for fiscal year 2020 for establishments, clubs that were forced to close due to COVID-19.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Nay.
Rivera.
Aye. Discuss the possibility of billing software changes.
Okay, so I brought this up, Tommy and I had a meeting, several weeks ago, actually, I think, to talk about the possibility of how getting modifications done for our billing software. You know, the real question is, I kind of tend to agree with him that it costs $2,100 to make a modification. If you see in your packet, I have two examples in there if you want to look at them. Because of some of the confusion that goes on, I thought it was at least worth to have a discussion on it. The first page shows what our bills look like currently. The second page is an example of what they could do to modify to have more line items. For example, one of the problems that we have with our billing software is it just has the line item of just electric, that's it. There's nothing else, there's no base rate in there, there's no electric rate, there's no power cost adjustment. So I think it hurts with some of the confusion a little bit because people out there, they kind of look at their bill and they're like, hey, if I divide out by how many kilowatts I used, the number's different every month. And the problem for that is the power cost adjustment. We have a means for it to be in our system, just not displayed on the bills. And I'm told a decade ago, it used to have that on there, and people decided they didn't want it anymore. So I guess the question is, you know, we're kind of the representatives of the city. Do you think it's beneficial to have that in there or not?
I believe we can calculate all those numbers for them if they were really that worried about it. Not, so instead of putting it on every bill, if someone really wanted to know every line item, I feel like we could definitely calculate it.
That's fair.
And
Yeah.
second of all, the number at the end, the total cost is not gonna change whether you put 10 lines on there or 5, it's another thing, so they're gonna be mad either way, right?
This is all true statements. It's all true statements. But again, I'm a believer that the more information you have, the less, I mean, right now, we are getting, the office here is getting slammed with a lot of questions because they're confused. And I think some of this might be explained if the bills were more detailed. Now, is that worth $2,100? I don't know.
Do we want, well, I'm just seeing the office is gonna be saying, explain what a demand charge is to people if that's on the line, you know. They'll be
Yeah.
going into definition on every line, and they're willing to do that, don't get me wrong, but when you mail it out there, those people go, what is this demand they just put on this month, what is going on here,
Yeah.
that kind of
No,
stuff.
I get it. I get it, because right now, people look at it and they're, like, if you look at some of the other municipality bills, they'll have that. They'll have the, because we do have a standard rate that we charge, which has not gone up. And the reason I bring it up is because it's gonna get even worse as the summer goes on. The mayor, has been talking for a couple of years about this because of the base load plants that went away. This year's gonna even be any worse, and then on top of it with the extra heat, that power cost adjustment is probably gonna go up more than it has in previous years. So people are gonna look at their bills and go, what is this? This doesn't make sense to me, because we don't have that line item there. Now, I don't know, I'm kind of 50-50 on what it is. I mean, the city I think it should be there, but the city used to have it, and at one point in time, they decided they didn't want it. So if that's the general consensus, that's how I'll leave it then. Anybody else have an opinion on that?
I think breaking it down by water is this much, sewer is this much, and electrical is this much is probably the easiest route to go.
It is, don't get me wrong, as you
Now
said.
they can see how much they're spending for electrical. With all those other rates, unless we put them in their own little areas, so then we got a page and a half bill by the time we're done with this. I don't know how they'd understand even where demand charge is coming from on the list, that kind of stuff.
Well, it wouldn't be, it'd be listed as the example they have on there where it's just power cost adjustment, and then so, but you are right, it's not gonna change the amount at the end. I'm just trying to see if we can, explain things a little bit better for our residents to make sure they understand.
I think I'd have more questions regarding the customer charge residential one phase,
Mhm.
or the PCAC residential, and the public benefit charge.
I don't even know what that one is.
Yeah.
This was just the one example we had, yeah.
Yeah, I would have trouble explaining that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's the consensus, that, hey, we discussed it, we brought it up, and there we go.
Perfect.
Next on the agenda is, review request from Dan Moore to have a septic system, sewer system within the city of Oglesby city limits. And, what, Mr. Moore is gonna do is, he's building a new home, on, Ed Han Highway. There's Cookie Kingdom, I think an apartment, then a new home been built. He's looking at the next lot down to build a new home up on the hill.
So I was originally just gonna wanna approve this because if somebody they're outside their distance, if they wanna build a septic system, the city doesn't have to get involved with it, that's fantastic. But the mayor made a mention to me of something that I can't answer for him. And, I think I need a little bit more time. The question is this septic system, of where he's gonna put it, is it gonna cause a problem for other residents nearby?
I believe if the county approves it, it doesn't affect any of the other residents. I don't know if you know anything about this.
I don't know a lot about
Attorney
it.
Andrew.
You will have to get the South County Health Department approval.
And I believe they've already approved it, correct? Is
I
that the letter from,
thought we were first. I thought we had to get approved first for him to go to that.
I think the county approves it. I gotta read the rules on the county septics, but I think it's 100 feet from the sewer. If it's more than that, you're okay, and as long as it doesn't affect residents around you, I believe is
Yeah,
the
so
county's ruling.
So his letter says he talked to the departments, and the South County Health Department has seen the property and assured that all requirements are for the septic system. But I haven't seen that yet, or, I don't know if they've approved anything yet. So, I kinda would, I wanna be able to make sure I can answer a question someone asked me, and so that means I probably need to take a look at this, and so that way I can confidently tell you that it's not gonna affect any other residents. Because if we're the first person to approve it, we should probably verify that, is what I'm thinking. I just wanna do it right, I don't wanna authorize it, and then all of a sudden, I get 20 residents come and saying somebody's got a drain field on their property or something like that, so.
Would it be fair to, table this, till the next meeting, until we get, some more information?
Absolutely, and I will get with them and I'll have a detailed answer for everybody here next meeting. So,
No, it was just review request, there's no,
oh, we didn't even have on here approved?
yeah, that doesn't say it.
Oops, okay.
You may want to make a note for the next meeting to have it on there to be approved, because it may delay his construction. Right? It's a permit he's probably gonna have to get started.
Okay.
Old business? Public comments?
Sue Marion from Dale Avenue in Oglesby.
It might not be on.
on now?
Yeah.
Okay. My first pet peeve of the night, being a veteran, my dad was a veteran, and when this program was started, it's veterans. It's not EMTs, it's not firefighters, it's not police officers. When I ride down the street, I see Marines, I see Army, Navy. I don't want to see EMTs, and I don't want to see firefighters, and most of all, I don't want to see police officers, because tell me what branch of service that is. This was started for people that were in a branch of service, not somebody that, you know, in a little bumhole town like this, you know, I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. And being a veteran, it's more than that. And my second item is how come all the towns around here are doing something about fireworks, but for about the last month on my end of town, nothing. The only person that's gotten busted is a guy from Oglesby who was in Peru, and he got busted because he took his stuff over there to shoot it off. And there hasn't been nothing. So, Police Commissioner, I'm asking you, for over a month this crap has been going on. And I've got a signal cannon myself, but I'm not out there every day. I might do, you know, a couple times a year. But a couple times a year ain't for a whole month. I think it pretty much started around Memorial Day and it's been going strong ever since. And if you don't believe me, come and sit down by the Dickinson house and you can tell where they're going off. I can tell you to show you the yards, but nothing's being done. And I know we only have one police officer. But how come all the other towns are doing something about it? And we're always first to say, well, they're doing it in Peru, they're doing it in LaSalle, you know. How come we're not doing something here? You know, you got veterans that live here, you got lots of people with animals, and what they're shooting off, and they're even shooting off, I think they're probably shooting off some guns too, because you can tell by the rapid fire, you know, some of those are the ones that they set on the ground, but some of those are guns too. Because go outside on New Year's Eve and you'll hear more than fireworks. But why can't we do something about it? Why is there nobody getting busted for it? You know, because until you start writing tickets, nothing will be done. They'll think, well, we can do it just that much more. There's only one police officer. We can do it all the time. And pretty much since Memorial Day, they have.
Drew, thank you for bringing that forward.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, it's been going on that
Excuse
That's
me,
enough.
I'm speaking.
It's against
Any
the
other
law.
public comments?
Can I respond?
I was gonna ask Chief Haynes to respond to your question, Drew.
Go first.
Yes, we had, over the 4th of July weekend, you want me up there?
No, I please.
Over the 4th of July weekend, from the 2nd through today, we had 7 complaints. People who called in and complained. We had 7. We responded to all 7. We found 5. We got people to admit that they had done it and that they were done doing it, they wouldn't do it anymore. We didn't receive any more complaints on any one individual twice. So we prefer to give a person one warning. We tell them if we come back, you're gonna be charged. Everybody complied that we got complaints on. If the officers see somebody shooting them off as they're driving around, which happens very seldom, they address it. But we received 7 complaints over that time period, responded to every one of them, got compliance out of 5 people, couldn't find where 2 of them were coming from.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to respond to the other part of the comment there. You know, I appreciate your opinion, but I'm a veteran, and I'm not offended that there's first responders being recognized as well. Ever since September 11th, I've had people thank me for my service most of my career. And the irony of it is first responders played a major part of all that stuff, especially with things going on today. I don't think there's a problem with recognizing first responders, EMT, firefighters, and police. I think it's a lack of that in our nation, and I think it's a good thing.
It was set up for
Okay.
veterans.
I understand. I mean, your opinion's noted.
You know, people, most of them that were out of the country.
Ditto your comment, Jason.
I don't have a problem with it.
Expand for the record.
Greg Stein, Oglesby resident. But wasn't on my list. I started my list with the fire station and the Parks Department building over here. I like the idea of putting all the equipment together in one building, and I'd like to have you think about repurposing the old ambulance building as maybe a Star Rock Visitor Center for when all that new acreage opens up and I don't think the city should maybe get involved in a rental business, but it's a concept.
Always an option, Greg.
And then, I wrote down, does the billing system let you enter a note, a line or two as a note on it? I thought it used to. Now,
No.
maybe you could, I'm not sure how many, if the rate for the usage rate is different for every individual bill, but, something like that. And then, last thing, it looks like this COVID-19 is gonna be around for a while and re-brew up again. And I'm wondering what kind of the HVAC system in here, how much is of the air in here is being exchanged with the outside air, kind of like an exhaust system going on in here, which it's in the news today that it's very favorable to this situation to be bringing in outside air and exhausting the inside air. Or maybe put in some kind of a HEPA filter in here like I've seen at the Karis Mansion. There's a few of them in there. That's it.
Hey, I just wanna make sure I understand your question correctly with the billing thing. Could you state that again?
Well,
There's a little comment box on the
yeah,
bottom of the bill.
Okay.
like the pool's open this month or
You want
there's
comments
a little
in the-
comment box and.
You want comments on the bill like that?
Well, if you wanted to tell us what the electric, what Ameren is charging us, what is it called?
Power cost adjustment?
The power cost adjustment. If you wanted to let us know that each month, what they're billing us, and unless it changes by the day.
Well, Tommy does make a good point, that if any resident wants that, they can easily print that off, that you have that information here for every resident. As far as the comments on there, we didn't ask that question, I'm not sure. I would probably lean to say no, because it seemed it was very difficult to get any kind of modifications done on there. But even putting a comment on the bill, I mean, when we send the bills out, the newsletter goes out to have information, so I'd probably leave the comments onto the newsletter.
Commissioner reports?
I have nothing to report tonight.
Ambulance department was pretty busy. Last month, they had 95 calls, with 34 of those being transfers to other facilities. The police department was also very busy. They had about 28 case reports for accidents, an additional 60 traffic stops, and 23 citations and 9 non-citations, so they've been busy. They initiated a new program where, with what they're doing throughout the day, they're logging those, whatever calls they've had, and the officer with the most amount of points gets to be the officer of the month. And so for the month of June, we had Sergeant Valley was the sergeant of the month, which is pretty cool. In the fire department, they were also busier than normal. They had 21 calls for the month of June, 3 of them being water rescues. So they've been very much involved out at the state parks. Chief Ron did also want to mention that the cement was poured by the firefighters for the generator installation, but pouring that pad for the new generator that they have out there. And they wanted to thank the city street and electrical for assisting them, and this generator should be operational very, very soon.
Jason?
Okay, okay, so for water, I don't have an exact date yet for when they're gonna be doing the water tower. We're looking at middle to end of July possibly, but for residents, they shouldn't see anything We're gonna have a pressure tank that'll be up there, so you shouldn't see any kind of difference in pressure drop or any difference for you. Street department, they did a pretty great job. If you've been down to the pool lately, where they pulled out all the rock and the bushes that were there, they concreted it over. It looks very nice. There's some more tables and chairs sitting out for front, so it looks nice. It's getting hot out there. So just today, Malik Road buckled, kind of on the north side of Walnut there. It's okay to travel over now. They've done some work on it. They're gonna patch over it, but with the heat out there, if you see something wrong with the roadway or something like that, please call into dispatch. We got a department that'll get out there and get taken care of it real quick. As far as electrical, GTI, it continues to expand. Their load is up 35% this month. As far as electrical as well, there's only twice that it's ever happened that I can recall in the last 8 years that we've been out for power more than an hour. So the funny thing is, 7-8 months ago, there was one time it happened for about 5-6 hours, and then about 2 Saturdays ago, we had a 68-minute outage. It's the same thing. It's the feed that comes in through Ameren. It had nothing to do with our infrastructure we have in the town. So I have some good news to report about this. But since the last time it happened, we started talking about how we can prevent that in the future. So what most people don't know is our Phoenix substation is our main substation for the city. That's where the power feed comes in. We have a second substation, Malik Road. That doesn't get an outside power source. That gets power sent over from the Phoenix sub and helps distribute our load. However, Ameren does have another 34.5 K line about 40 feet away from that substation. And guess what? That line is on a completely different circuit than the one that feeds the town. In fact, when the town went down for those 2 examples where that line went down, the other line was still operational. So we're looking to see what we can do to get authorized to bring that second line in. If we can bring that second line in, that will increase the city's reliability for power source. So if we ever had something happen like that again, either it could be automated or something that we could switch over and be able to provide power from the entire town. So I'm hoping to be able to, we're kind of in our final stages to get that approved. I feel very confident that is going to happen. Matter of fact, I'm trying to mention it here to make sure that it does happen. And then the moment that does happen, we'll start looking at how we can engineer it up to make it a reality. And also, I know we're open back for business here again in City Hall, and we've been trying to use the little video system here in the meantime. I am looking at seeing if you get one in. We have a system, it's on back order right now. I don't want to get the way more expensive system. So we're hoping to see if we can get an installation date sometime in August. That's all I got.
Okay, I just wanted to state that the Oglesby pool is now open, and we'd like to thank the hard-working staff for prepping the pool and painting and staining the pool building. Summer camps are gonna be available, and tennis camps have already begun. They are also offering baseball, softball, and cheer camps. Sign up is still available at City Hall, and if you need more information on any of these items, you can view that at the Oglesby Facebook page. That's all I got.
Just a couple of short things, and just want to expand on something that Jason said. That second feed, the IMEA is working with Ameren to give it to us. And nothing comes without spending some dollars. We're gonna need some switches to take care of that. And it'll be a positive thing. It'll give us the electric reliability that we need. It would also give us the ability that if we lose one of those feeds, we can backfeed the other substation. One thing with Ameren, just so people should know, because they said about the raising costs, Ameren filed with the bond raters about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. They're projecting their rates. When I say that, their rates, that's Ameren's rates, to go up 6% a year for the next 6 years. It's our goal to try to hold Oglesby's rates flat. We are doing some good things. GTI is helping us. Our revenue has increased about 34,000 from April to now, and basically because of GTI. Other than that, we're, and I will have to say, and I wanna compliment our employees, outside of the directional boring, all the upgrades to GTI was done by city employees. They did a hell of a job. Go to the next one, I need a motion and second to go into closed section. The appointment, employment, and wait a minute, I've got to get my glasses so I can see it again. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee or legal counsel for the public body. Also, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedule for one or more classes of employees.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Augubright.
Aye.
Cullinan. Curran.
Aye.
Mieski.
Aye.
Rivara.
Aye.
No, this one's in the minutes though, because that is a requirement of the meeting, that we cite it. We repeated what the statute says. We cite it.
Did you see the squirrel or the?
I did not get a picture of the squirrel. I did ask if there was a picture of the culprit.
And you didn't get one?
I did not get a picture of that. I was wondering if you just, yeah, I thought someone had asked that.
Patty and the
I've got one other thing to say.
Patty and the family.
And could I have your attention, please? Just one other thing to say. You're gonna see a lot of construction out there by it's an Ameren ComEd sub-switching station. That's gonna almost double or triple in size. It should start late fall. So that's a big plus for us. That gives us an opportunity to take a look how, we can do some things with our feeds too. That would, be a benefit to us. Yes, sir.
To finish, was curious, but I don't know.
I see it's Patty and the family.
Oh, okay.
Lean on. That's what I mean. Somebody down the block there told me.
And make
I was hoping for one though.
Jim, how are you? Good seeing you. I haven't seen you in a hot minute. Yes. I'm trying to figure out what we can do about that. Because the thing is, I have a whole bunch of projects we could do, that we could do for it. The problem is, the biggest one that we need, I don't know how to pay for it. And I'm concerned if I spend $250,000 on all these other little things, and then I go to the legislators and they say, where's your more fuel tax money? I spend it all on alleys and streets. That's my concern. All right, hey, have a great one. Good seeing you.
I know, that's the problem with these stupid masks when you've got glasses.
Take it easy.
Amy.
That guy.
Pass this up back. You don't get sit by your buddy.
We're still on? Oh, we're still on.
I'll entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
I'll make a motion to go back into regular session.
Second.
Cartwright,
Aye, here.
Cullinan, Kern,
Aye.
Mieski,
Aye.
Rivara,
Aye. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll motion adjourned.
Second.